In the book Rainbow Conspiracy by Brad Steiger and Sherry Hansen, it is stated that in the 1990s, at a great depth, an ancient machine was discovered. This machine was possibly used for ancient construction instead of copper chisels, as scientists claim. In close proximity, another 5 or 6 similar machines were found. They were all buried back underground. Mysterious hieroglyphs were depicted on the surface of this apparatus. Only one low-quality photograph remains of this discovery. Some argue that it is a hoax, while others believe otherwise. The photo shows a huge machine excavated around 1990 to 1991 from a considerable depth. According to an anonymous source mentioned by Steiger, several more machines were found, but attention, they were all buried back underground. This sheds some light on the equipment that may have been used for ancient construction. The situation does appear rather strange. There are structures and traces of mechanisms, but the actual machines themselves are missing, even though there should have been hundreds, possibly thousands, or at least their fragments left behind. There are indeed many traces of past technology. For example, a stone in Saudi Arabia was once cut in half so evenly and smoothly that it appears as if it were carved by a laser using modern, state-of-the-art techniques. In the Tamia oasis of the Tabuk province in Saudi Arabia, there is a mysterious megalithic stone that has puzzled scientists for years. Despite the existence of numerous contradictions and theories, there is still no definitive answer regarding its origin. The rock, known as Al-Nasla, was discovered by Charles Hoover in 1883. As can be seen, this ancient stone was split into 2 parts, each of which rests on a small stand of similar size. It is completely unclear how these 2 stones can maintain their balance for a long time without moving at all. The distance between the 2 blocks remains absolutely the same. The smooth cut is executed so flawlessly that it suggests the stone was cut by a laser or some very precise modern technology. Even in our time, such laser technology is not fully developed and understood. Yet the stone was cut hundreds, possibly thousands of years ago. How could people at that time cut such enormous stones, and with what tools? In the quest to find an answer to the origin of this unique cut, numerous theories have been proposed. One of them suggests that Al-Nasla may have been carved not by human hands, but through natural processes. It has been determined that many years ago, there were slight vibrations in the ground beneath the rock, which caused small cracks to appear on its surface. Gradually, over the course of centuries, these cracks widened, leading to a fracture. At some point, the stone acquired the form we see today. However, such an explanation does not seem plausible to everyone, as such a perfectly smooth and even natural split is unlikely. Therefore, a second theory emerged, suggesting that there once existed a highly advanced civilization in this region, as indicated by the strange carvings on the stone's surface. Perhaps the representatives of this civilization possessed technologies that allowed them to cut the stone in half for yet unknown purposes, but over time, for inexplicable reasons, this civilization vanished. According to archaeologists, the earliest records of the Tamia oasis date back to the 8th century BC, when it was known as Tiamat. Hieroglyphs found in the city also date back to the 6th century BC. Perhaps there was once a civilization here that possessed the technical capabilities to make such precise cuts. If so, what techniques did they use, and why was this stone split in half? Is the Al-Nasla rock a standalone object or the ruins of a larger structure? What happened to this civilization? Although the ancient Al-Nasla rock has become one of the most famous discoveries, it is not the most unique in terms of size or quality of cutting. There are stones made of even harder materials, such as granite. Ancient split stones, much larger than Al-Nasla, have also been found. For example, in Egypt, numerous ancient stones have been discovered, cut at various angles or simply in half. There are even examples in Australia, which is far from Arabia. It should be noted that there are dozens, if not hundreds, of such ancient stones with smooth and precise cuts on our planet. Some of them, according to scientists' estimates, are several thousand years old. Similar ancient stones and megaliths are found practically everywhere on Earth, even in places where one would think they shouldn't be, on flat surfaces of fields or in swamps, forests, and mountains. Who and why, but most importantly how, and with what tools were these ancient stones cut in dense forests or swamps, on high mountains, or in remote and wild places? This is a true historical and archaeological mystery. We are no longer surprised by the high-tech megalithic structures of antiquity. It is unclear how and with what they were cut, but at least we understand why to build something. However, wild, ancient stones, boulders, and megaliths, cut, sawn, or split without any apparent purpose in remote locations across the planet. It would be one thing if a piece had been cut and taken away, but the boulders were simply split into pieces and left behind. Split ancient stones can also be found in Scandinavia, Finland, Sweden, and Norway. They can be found everywhere, even in the most unexpected places, varying in size and shape. These ancient stones were cut as if they were slicing sausage with a giant knife. Geologists claim that all of this is just the result of natural fissures, but is that really the case? And if ancient masters were the ones cutting and sawing these stones, then how did they do it and with what? Specialists say they use the same tools as we use for cutting metal or stone today. If you look at the cutting discs for metal or stone, you can see that they are simply fabric soaked in resin, mixed with sand. Ancient masters used ropes to transmit the movement of the sand-water mixture, which was constantly added to the cutting area. Archaeologists found a drill in Turkey in 2017 that was used 7,500 years ago. It consisted of a stick with a flint stone attached to the end. This discovery was reported by the Daily Sabah. Similar ancient stones can also be found in Russia. For example, there is the split ancient stone known as the Broken Heart, located 400 meters from the Kiziltepe Sanatorium in the southern Ural region, as well as a split ancient stone on Mount Potobara in Karelia. Japan also has its share of split ancient stones. For instance, in Ibaraki Prefecture, in the Kanto region on Honshu Island, there are examples of these stones. On Yakushima Island, one of the Osumi Islands, Kagoshima Prefecture, in southern Japan, there is a peculiarly shaped rock called Tofi Rock on the summit of Mount Koban, 1,711 meters. It earned this name due to its resemblance to sliced tofu, a soybean-based curd. In 1993, the island was declared a World Natural Heritage Site. The only advantage of these ancient stones is that they are accessible to anyone who can reach them. However, the scientific community has been silent about these findings as they still need to find a reasonably accurate explanation for them. The forces of nature and the earth do not seem to fit the bill. Regardless of the uncertainties, the fact remains that ancient stones with precise cuts exist as evidence of something, though what that something is still unclear. Scientists, to put it mildly, are puzzled. In the early 1930s, Swedish aviation engineer Henrik Jelson observed monks building a temple on a 400-meter-high cliff in Tibet. The stone, with a diameter of about 1.5 meters, was carried by a yak to a small horizontal platform located 100 meters away from the cliff. The stone was then rolled into a hole matching its size and 15 centimeters deep. At a distance of 63 meters from the hole, the engineer precisely measured all distances. There were 19 musicians, and behind them were 200 monks arranged in radial lines, with several individuals on each line. The angle between the lines was 5 degrees, and the stone was placed at the center of this construction. The musicians had 13 large drums suspended on wooden bars, with their resonating surfaces facing the hole with the stone. 6 large metal tubes, also directed towards the hole, were placed in various locations between the drums. 2 musicians stood by each tube, taking turns blowing into it. On a special command, the entire orchestra played loudly, and the choir of monks sang in unison. According to Henry Jelson's account, after 4 minutes, when the sound reached its peak, the stone in the hole began to sway and suddenly flew off in a parabolic trajectory, landing on the top of the cliff. According to the story, this was how the monks raised 5 to 6 huge boulders to the temple under construction every hour. Are you ready to unlock the secrets of the past? Subscribe now to Mystery Universe and embark on a journey to uncover the most enigmatic and awe-inspiring mysteries of ancient times. Leave a comment if there are any ancient mysteries you want us to explore in upcoming videos.